we were talking about technology and we kind of came to this realization that, and I think we were talking about church too.
Yeah.
And the impact in technology in how we're experiencing our lives, and it being a distraction or bringing us closer together. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk a bit about today. And I'm interested to know, if I was to lob one thing out there right now that you think is a piece of, so give me a piece of technology that you think is most poised or currently in your life that helps draw you close to family, friends, to connection with people. And then maybe an example of something that you think is really detracting from that. And maybe we'll start with the detracting because I think that's probably the easier one.
I think that is the easier one.
But it might be harder to actually nail down the one thing, right? But what do you think is the most, what do you think in technology right now is the thing that like isolates you the most?
Yeah, solid question. I think the easy one for me is probably, and I wouldn't point it to one specific technology or platform, but I just think the ability to access things that can entertain you.
Right.
Just as if you look at that as a general group, whether it be the stuff on your phone or the streaming services, it's just like, and this has been an interesting year where you really you don't have to have an excuse to go out. You don't, nothing, you can't go anywhere.
Right.
So all of a sudden you're like, I might as well just binge. And whether that's binging on your phone or binging on your TV or binging on your iPad or something like that, it's, I think that's probably when you're, all of the time that you're spending looking at something else, is time that you're not necessarily building a meaningful relationship. Now, I understand that there are a lot of opportunities to build relationships digitally.
Right.
But as far as my circle, I think that availability is really something that is a dangerous item. It can suck you in, and then all of a sudden you're a week later, and so. So yeah, I think that would be the low hanging fruit for me.
So, and Justin, you and I have talked a bit about this, and we're all dads, and I think that this is something that we really struggle with our kids. I think your oldest is 12, 13, right? Yep. I've got a 10-year-old. Justin's oldest is 7.
Yeah.
And so all of them are of the connected generation, like the kids who never have not known the internet, iPads, all those things.
Like my kids walk up to my TV and try to swipe it.
For sure.
Like a giant iPad.
Yeah, my niece walks up to everything as, hey, Google. And it's just everything should respond to you.
My 5-year-old daughter randomly decided to say, hey, Siri, play a sad song. And it just started playing some random, oh, no, don't play anything.
Siri's going crazy.
Sorry.
No, and it's so funny because that is it. And so there's an extra challenge as a parent, I think, for us of how we manage that for our kids, but then we have to manage that in our own lives. And I can fall into especially when I'm traveling, I'll have this tendency to fall into the hole of I'll sit down on my couch after the end of the day in my hotel room and I'll open TikTok. And the next thing I know, it's been an hour and a half because you think I'm digesting information a minute at a time-ish, right? And they have uniquely crafted what I'm seeing like a drug.
Oh, so well.
To draw me in, right? And so
algorithms
for me,
insane.
It's dirt bikes and rednecky things and people shooting guns and, people and dogs doing dumb things and people doing dumb things, right? And it's just it's so enamoring. It's brain candy. It's just, right? But so from that aspect, I think for both of you, I'd be really interested to know, do you actively work on disconnecting from that on a given day, or is it more of a okay, when I go on vacation, that's my time when I go away from that? Because I find for me personally, because we have so much family who lives remote, and take the pandemic on it. The pandemic has changed things a little bit, but it's made some of that more necessary, more apparent.
Yeah.
I think. But I find that the time that I try to do this now is when I'm on vacation. And I've learned that vacation needs to be more than just a 1 week thing. Like for me, it needs to be 2 weeks. So I can slightly disconnect.
Yeah.
It takes a couple of days to disconnect, and then I'm fully disconnected, and I don't know where my phone is the entire week.
Right.
And then I find it again. But like,
Right.
so for you, is that a daily thing? Is that like a vacation thing?
Well, for me, it's I think it's both. I think there's two. I totally resonate with the vacation thing, and that's another like great piece of online technology is like the ease of which you can go camp anywhere, and it's easy to find new places and have new experiences. That's a fantastic avenue. But then once you get there, a lot of those places don't have cell service, or you're out in the middle of the woods, and so you're forced to be intentional.
Right.
But at home, like it is harder, and especially with kids, for me, it's a little different because you almost begin having to like force yourself to get into a rhythm that, because I think it's easier for me to see like screen abuse or screen addiction with my kids than it is with me, and then you're forced to like lead by example. Then you're like, okay, hey, enough screen time for the day, and like, okay, then you're secretly telling yourself that too,
As you're texting,
as you're texting somebody. But
I mean, how many times have I gone, no, you can't have your tablet.
And he's
exactly.
texting me.
Yeah, and so that's hard though, because you're like, no, but seriously, kids, I know how to manage it better than you do, and you're like, but do you, Dad? Like, I think there's opportunity for always to get better at that as parents. So I think that's a good challenge, though, to maintain the question of what are you doing in your day-to-day life. I think vacation's easy.
Yeah.
It's easier but what are you doing in a day-to-day process to help manage that level?
Yeah, well, especially because when you're on vacation, like if you're going camping, like, this past summer we went up north to the UP, and it's like we were hiking, we were at the Sioux Locks, we were at the
Right.
falls, and it's like I'm taking pictures and stuff like that. But like again, like you said, the cell service kind of sucks, so it's a lot harder to do it. And you're trying to wrangle. Like I have 4 kids under the age of 7. My sister was there with her 4 kids under the age of 12. My parents were there, and we're all trying to do these things. So it was like constant like movement of trying to figure out what we're gonna do, or driving 2.5 hours, to the Sioux Locks type thing. Or like when me and my wife go to Disney for our vacations, it's like we're taking pictures and we're riding rides and watching shows,
Right.
and like we're at really fancy, fun restaurants that we don't normally do. So it's a little bit easier, but I agree, it's really difficult to like pull myself out of that and not just sit down on the couch, especially like, for my wife who's home with the kids all day long, and it's like the kids go to sleep finally, and she's like, this is my time to like be on my phone and not get distracted. And it's like we've been trying to be more intentional about like spending time with each other, of like especially spiritually on that level for the two of us because of our faith. So it's like we try really hard lately to like make sure we're reading something together, make sure like we're like actually like checking in on each other, like how are you doing, like really how are you doing, not just like
Right.
it is what it is. So the technology is hard to like pull yourself out of that, because it's like you just want to sit on the couch and scroll through Facebook, because I don't look at Facebook during the day like when I'm at work. Very rarely do I do. So it's like when I get home, that's when I'm like, oh, I haven't seen anything that's happening today.
So I have to ask, because I've had a really hard time with this, but have you had times, because I have a few friends who once they walk in their door, their phone must get locked into a closet somewhere. And I don't hear from them again until their wife and their children are in bed. And then they're furiously texting and whatever in the basement, I assume, after this happens, right?
I mean, that was you for a little bit.
Yeah. I say that because I tried. And I still don't think I have the balance of that. And I'm trying to intentionally from time to time just leave my devices behind. In those moments like you just talked about, where it's like, well, I'm with my wife, we're at Disney, our kids are taken care of, right? but the problem is that from a music and photo standpoint, like our phones have become our DSLR.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Absolutely.
So when that's a thing, now you're just always connected. And
Yeah, I'm not carrying my GH5 to Quamanon Falls.
right. And so like I have a dual SIM phone,
Yeah.
so I can turn my business line off. That's really nice. So then I'm not getting things, but I'm still getting text messages through iMessage. I'm still have email at my fingertips, right? And I wonder sometimes if there needs to be a reprieve from that technology on the level of maybe when I go on vacation, I grab our DSLR instead of my phone because we want to document it, and that's the hard part, right? Or I don't know, like
Airplane mode, bro.
I'm
It's just
talking.
so damn convenient.
No, and airplane mode is a decent idea in that because I do think, especially like navigating when you're at Disney, like your phone is like how you get but then you connect it to Wi-Fi. Now you can still get text messages. The world, it gets overwhelming to think about how do I disconnect from the device?
Well, I mean, I think that's really difficult, especially for the level of the three of us of where we are in our positions at work.
Right.
Like you being, your level at Acoustics, like if there's a problem, they're going to call you. I'm assuming business development. If there's a customer that has a problem, like you're getting a call.
Right.
I'm vice president of a company that like everything runs through me. If there's a problem that they don't know what to do, I'm getting a call. If I'm at Disney sitting on the top of Splash Mountain or not, I'm getting a call.
Yeah, and I've kind of tried to draw a line on that. But the problem is I don't know that it's viable to think that we don't have the device. So where,
So let